Sometime in the last year, the chief executive of a London fintech company sat down at his computer, opened up a handful of AI agents and let them run in parallel. By the end of the month, he had personally burned through more than $36,000 in tokens. That's one man spending the price of a new car in a single month. And the strangest part is that inside his own company, nobody treated this as a problem. It was just how things were done. Everyone there, in their own words, was token maxing. Now, you'd be forgiven for assuming a story like that ends with a company going under. But it doesn't, because that same year, in boardrooms around the world, executives were standing in front of investors and describing a very different picture. Instead of warning about runaway costs, they were talking about efficiency and how AI was finally letting them cut their workforce down to size. Investors loved it, stocks went up, and nobody asked too many questions. But that story wasn't true. Over the past 18 months, the gap between what corporate AI was promised to do and what it actually costs has grown so wide that it can no longer be ignored. Companies that fired people in the name of automation are quietly hiring them back. Bills that were supposed to shrink are exploding, and what many suspected all along is now coming out. Much of what got sold as an AI revolution was really just old-fashioned cost-cutting in an expensive new coat. The first thing to understand is that the money has not dried up. The research firm Gartner expects global spending on artificial intelligence to reach $2.5 trillion this year, a jump of nearly 50% from the year before. And the biggest technology companies in the world are collectively pouring something in the region of $700 billion into data centers and chips. By any measure, the spending is not collapsing. It's accelerating. What's collapsing is the return on it, because while all that money flows in at the top, the companies actually deploying these tools can't show what they got back. A widely cited study out of MIT last year looked at enterprise AI projects and found that 95% of them delivered no measurable impact on the bottom line. Around the same time, the research group S&P Global found that 42% of companies had abandoned most of their AI initiatives, up from just 17% a year earlier. The average company was scrapping nearly half of its trial projects before they ever reached the real world. For about 2 years, corporate leadership told a remarkably consistent story. They said that artificial intelligence was going to replace human workers, and that this was good news for profits. The clearest example came from Block, the payments company run by Jack Dorsey, who you might know better as the co-founder of Twitter. In early 2026, Block cut around 4,000 people. That was nearly half its workforce, and Dorsey pinned it on the AI tools the company was building. He told shareholders that a smaller team using these tools could do more and do it better. The same admission turned up in places companies are legally required to tell the truth. Oracle told financial regulators in an official filing that adopting AI had already led to job cuts and warned it might lead to more. Over 12 months, the company shed around 21,000 jobs. But a lot of these workers didn't stay gone. They got asked to come back. Take Ford, for example. Over the past few years, the company had cut more than 5,000 jobs, confident that automation could keep its cars up to standard. Instead, the quality started slipping. The cars rolling off the line got worse, recalls piled up, and in the years that followed, Ford recalled more vehicles than any other American car maker. So they quietly reversed course. They started rehiring the veteran engineers they had let go to audit the machines and hunt for the failures the AI kept missing. This is playing out across industries and borders. Over in Australia, the Commonwealth Bank cut several customer service roles last year, claiming an AI voice bot had reduced the number of calls coming in. Except the calls went up. The bank found itself paying overtime and pulling managers onto the phones to cope. Within weeks, it apologised. It reversed the redundancies and admitted that its assessment had not properly considered the actual business need and that the roles were never redundant in the first place. The finance sector union there said the bank had been caught trying to dress up job cuts as innovation. And that phrase turns out to describe what a lot of these companies have really been doing. This pattern even has a name now. People in the hiring world are calling it the AI boomerang. A survey of 600 human resources professionals earlier this year found that more than a third of companies that had made AI-related layoffs had already rehired for many of those exact roles. Many of those companies found that rehiring cost them more than the original layoffs ever saved. The people coming back aren't always coming back cheaply either. The roles being rebuilt tend to be the experienced middle that holds a company together, and those people now know their worth. Reporting on this trend describes positions that once paid around $55,000 now being filled at $75,000 or more because the work has quietly changed. The job is no longer just doing the task. It's stepping in to do the work the AI couldn't and cleaning up the mess it left behind. A recent survey of hiring managers found that 59% of them admitted they lean on artificial intelligence as the public explanation for layoffs and hiring freezes because it plays better with stakeholders than admitting the company is under financial pressure. A research note from Deutsche Bank predicted that what they called AI redundancy washing would be a defining feature of the year. Economists at Oxford Economics pointed out that a lot of what gets described as AI-driven job cuts is more honestly described as a correction for overhiring during the pandemic, with artificial intelligence offered up as the more flattering reason. One firm that tracks layoffs found that cuts directly attributed to AI made up only around 4.5% of all the job losses in America last year. Underneath the layoff story, there's a second collapse happening. For a while, the cost of using these AI tools felt almost free because it was being subsidized. Companies flush with investor money priced their services cheaply to win the market the way ride-hailing apps once did. But that phase is ending, and the true cost is coming into view, and it is not small. The problem comes down to how these tools are built. Every word an AI model reads or generates is broken into units called tokens, and every token costs money. The newer, more autonomous AI agents can burn through somewhere between 5 and 30 times as many tokens to complete a single task as a simple chatbot would. Even as each token gets cheaper, the number of tokens being consumed is climbing faster than the price is dropping. So even with cheaper tokens, the total bill keeps climbing, and this is where the whole efficiency promise starts to fall apart, because once you add up the compute, the subscriptions, and the people still needed to run it all, the AI doing the work can end up costing more than the salaries it was meant to save. Even Nvidia, the chip maker that sells the hardware all of this runs on, has admitted the same. One of its senior executives said that for his own team, the cost of running the AI was far higher than the cost of the employees. The consulting firm Deloitte described one large healthcare company that quietly ran up over 1 trillion tokens in 6 months, translating to more than $6 million in unplanned costs, before the finance department even understood where the money was going. And unlike a headcount, this kind of usage is almost impossible to predict. AT&T found one of its internal AI assistants consuming 8 billion tokens a day and had to completely re-engineer how it worked just to bring the costs back under control. Plenty of big tech companies like Uber, Salesforce, and Microsoft have quietly hit the same wall and walked their AI plans back when the bills came in. So when you put the two collapses together, the picture becomes clear. On one side, the costs that subsidies once hid are now surfacing, and they are large and hard to predict. On the other, a wave of layoffs blamed on automation that never actually replaced the work. AI became the story companies told to cover decisions they had already made and mistakes they had already committed. And the bill for that story is now coming due. For 2 years, corporate AI offered executives a way to dress up ordinary layoffs and cost cuts as something visionary. It worked the same way an earlier generation once hid behind a consultant's slide deck, justifying any painful choice by saying the experts recommended it. AI became the new version of that cover. The difference is that this time, the bill outran the savings it was supposed to justify. The savings, for a lot of companies, were never real. And the longer that story holds, the more it looks like one of the most expensive lies corporate America ever told itself.